because some of them are right.
So does that stuff disqualify Kyrie for y'all?
Oh, I just think Kyrie is the worst in general. So like, I just don't like Kyrie as a person. I don't like Kyrie anything. But if you're talking strictly basketball, I've had this argument for years. I would easily take Dame over Kyrie any day of the week, easily. And Kyrie's got the hype because, or he had the hype for a while at least because of the championship with LeBron. But then if you take that 1 or 2 years out and look at what Kawhi, or look at what he's done by himself with teams,
Yeah.
his teams only make playoffs.
I mean, he also played in Cleveland. That's all I gotta say. He played in Cleveland.
Then when he went to Boston, he was a cancer to that locker room. Like they did much better without him. Then all of a sudden the next year he plays, and Jason Tatum took a step back. He leaves. Look where Jason Tatum is now. Look where
Tatum, Brown. What's his name?
Which one?
Dude who played for Utah. Hayward.
Hayward. They all took step forwards when Kyrie left.
Hayward was injured, so I'm not gonna let you talk ill about Kyrie on that one.
He was injured the first year.
The first Brown and Tatum, yeah.
Kyrie's too ball dominant, so he but Dame's ball dominant too. But the way their ball dominant is different, I guess. Like if you just watch them play, Kyrie's let me do. He's playing street ball. He's playing he's and1 mixtape. That's what he's doing. And in the NBA, there's a reason why and1 mixtape people aren't in the NBA. You good, but you ain't gonna win nothing. You know what I mean? But Dame, he's just a shooter, and he's really efficient. When he first came out of college, the big thing for him was he is really good off the pick and roll. He is really, really good off pick and roll. So that always translates to the NBA, always, no matter what. So all of a sudden, he gets to the NBA, and his second year, he knocked the Rockets out when they had Patrick Beverley, James Harden, and Dwight. I remember I was watching that game too. When he first came in, he's never won a championship, whatever it is, but he's always elevated his team. And I think CJ is somehow underrated, but whatever, But Dame himself is really, really good.
I think the only reason why CJ is underrated is because the boy Swiss cheese on defense.
Yeah, that's true.
Swiss cheese, because he cold. He cold on offense.
Dude. Watching CJ McCullough dribble the ball, and because what was it, this year he made the most jump shots in the NBA. Watching him dribble and pull up from the 3 and mid range, it's like poetry in motion. It's appealing to the eyes. I don't know. It's just great to watch. But that two-headed, combination. But then we gotta acknowledge the fact that they've done Melo wrong, right? That year Melo was out, they did Melo wrong. Melo averaged 20 points a game in the bubble.
Okay, I don't. Here's the thing. I think.
I think that was the issue. Melo could give you buckets, but he wasn't trying on defense. I think that's the entire thing.
Yeah, it was that he doesn't try on defense, and he's at least to this point, or until maybe he's better now. I don't know. He's been a selfish basketball player, and when I say that, I don't just mean in terms of not in terms of just taking ridiculous shots. Granted, they tend to go down, but making life harder for himself. But I think Billups' stories is where they'll win and Melo's upset because he didn't get his numbers, or they'd lose and Melo is happy because he put up 30 or 40 or whatever, and that's not stuff that's gonna help you win basketball games. And the issue and the concern with him was that he wasn't people were concerned he wasn't going to be willing to adjust his game or do what he needed to do to actually play winning basketball.
I mean, yeah, I get that to an extent. Hold on. Pelicans. I get that to an extent, but if listen. If what's his name? Hold on, I'm looking for it. If Etwan Moore is in the NBA, there is no way Carmelo Anthony should never have not been in the NBA. Etwan Moore essentially comes off the bench and shoots dumb shots, dumb not in terms of just like their ill-advised shots, but also shoots a lot of shots, and they don't go in nearly as much as Carmelo Anthony. So I'm just like that's one player from one team. So for this guy to be in the NBA, for one example of many I could have given, and Carmelo Anthony to be like, no, you can be NBA. Oh, also Antoine Moore does not play defense. So it's like, if how about this? Kyle Kuzma was in the hundreds when it came to playing defense in the NBA, ranked wise, and he would sometimes give you 20. If he's in the NBA, there was no way Carmelo Anthony should not be in the NBA.
But
And
like,
Kuzma shoots bad shots as well.
but like, they know their role. They know that they are not the guy on their respective team. And like, Melo has spent a lot of his career as the guy, which is understandable because offensively, he's arguably one of the best offensive players, ever play basketball. But like, he's he's also like playing a lot of, but like, if he can't take a step back and be like, okay, I'm fine being like the second or third option, then like, he's not gonna help you in basketball games because the ball is not gonna be end up in the hands of the dudes it needs to end up in most of the time. It's gonna end up in Melo's hands, and he's gonna take a questionable shot.
But
And he's not the Melo of the past. They're not necessarily gonna go down like that anymore.
But I do think it was I think it's a false narrative that he didn't take a step back in terms of just like you do your thing and I'll do my thing, or you do your thing and I'll like be the lesser man, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, in Oklahoma City. So I was like, he just happened to at that they played the Utah Jazz, I think it was, where everybody was missing. It wasn't just him. It was everybody was missing. Alan, you love this team. Everyone was missing, and you could blame Paul George more than anybody else, really. So like, but in a strange amount of blame went towards Carmelo Anthony that I personally don't think was all the. It was deserved in the context that everybody deserved criticism, but he got more than like I think he personally deserved. All of a sudden, he couldn't find a way on a team anywhere. I'm like, you can't play for the Suns. The Suns. Like, come on now, you can't play for nobody. But like,
Between me and you know he's not going to the Suns. They don't like winning. So,
man, he played for the Knicks. He played for the Knicks. He don't.
I mean, they didn't have one good season with him on the team. No, they had like two. They had two.
Yeah, but also the Knicks management doesn't help anybody out. So like we can't blame that all on the star player. Well, we can't blame it on the star player once he got there. He should have went to the Bulls, but during his free agency. But once he got there, they had two good seasons, 2010 and 2011, I believe it is, or 2009, 2010. It was one of those two seasons. And outside of that, the Knicks management just crapped the bed. They really, really did. So like, I don't blame that on him. But a biased New York Knicks fan would blame on Carmelo Anthony instead of their awful ownership. But Oklahoma City, that also wasn't his. But all these things should not have added up to him not being in the league for a whole entire year. He just was it yesterday. He became number 15 on the all-time scoring list. He should. At the end of the day, people are going to look at numbers. Sorry. By the end of the day, people are going to look at numbers, and they robbed him of big-time numbers of passing people up on the all-time scoring list, which is what he did scoring or does.
Like, hold up, what am I trying to say? Like, I had thoughts. soon as like I got the chance to speak, I forgot him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just for the record, he over his career he's averaged roughly as many assists as he has turnovers. And like, granted, he's not a guard and has never really been a guard, but still,
Yeah, he hasn't been a guard and has never been a guard, but he has had the ball in his hands more than anybody else on any other team he's ever been on, besides now. Dame definitely is not letting that happen. Uh, but like when he played for the Knicks and when he played for Denver, he might not have been a guard, but he did dribble that thing a lot, especially for a small forward. You know what I mean? But it's just like, ha- I don't know. I'm just like, when you're an all-time great player, when you're not, when it comes to, and you haven't won a championship, I guess. What they look at is statistics and stats and where you are on the all-time this list and the all-time that list or whatever. And when you're known for scoring and are arguably, as you mentioned earlier, one of the best scorers of all time, and you are robbed of a year's worth of scoring, it's just like, that's gonna, like, we might be able to put that into context, us, but years and years and years away from now, a different generation won't be able to put that into a certain context. So like, it's just like, that's kind of just messed up. You know what I mean? In terms of just a man's legacy.
I mean, I kind of get you, but also like there are dudes who like led the league in like scoring and whatever, and we also don't talk about them because it's like you don't really get taken seriously as one of the best like players period of all time if you don't have a ring, which is kind of dumb if we're honest about it because you're talking about an individual play and not necessarily in like a ring is the result of a team effort by and large. Like nobody wins a ring solo.
Wait, in terms of best scoring or best player? Because no one talks about Carmelo's best player. They all talk about the best scorer. And with best scorers, I don't think rings matter because T Mac is in that. And we
Uh,
know you don't got a ring.
oh, nah, from that perspective, yeah. Like if you're gonna be talking like that, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But if like we're gonna start trying to categorize them in terms of like all time and like being real, you're gonna like when like he retires and like folks are years removed and we're over here talking like our kids or whatever, talking about like back in my day, like Melo would get buckets. Like they're not going like you said, like to some degrees they're gonna look at that, but like they're not like truth be told, it's I would be surprised if there's not that it's not true, but like they don't talk about like just the best scorers of all time necessarily like that. They talk about the best players. So like the fact that he was one of the best scorers in the league, it matters for his legacy in terms of like people like us, like people who are big on basketball, be like, yeah, Melo was like one of the best to ever do it as far as like putting the ball through the hoop. But like in terms of like general discussions that are being had, that's not one that's going to get had often. And so like in terms of his legacy, it's not the most important thing.
Yeah, I try not to have conversations with people who say broad, right? Because like, if your only conversational topic is who's the best basketball player of all time, then like you don't really know basketball. Like if you can't get more specific than that, because that's typical. You know what I mean? Jordan, LeBron. If you can't get more specific than that, then like you don't deserve to talk basketball with anybody. So it's just like, but like, I mean, it's that's how I feel. That's how I've always felt. But like, in terms of, because like, you know, I do have conversations, and I have had conversations with like who's the best scorer of all time, right? Because like no one's like who's the best rebounder of all time. Like that's not a thing people really care about generally. But even like basketball heads don't really argue about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because like Bill Russell or whatever,
Artist Gilmore.
right?
Who
Like
doesn't
no,
have a ring, but like
but like
trying to.
but like under who's the best player of all time, the next conversation is, I mean, if it's not who's the best team of all time, that's like goes along with best player. The next conversation is who's the best scorer, and each generation has their own person. You could be like Karl Malone, but then people are like, no, he just had it because of John Stockton, or we could say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he had the most stoppable move, and he's the number one on the all-time scoring list. But then people our age are we're gonna be like, Kevin Durant, right? Michael Jordan. But then Carmelo Anthony can be put into that category. But when you have Kevin Durant, when he comes back, you know, I'm assuming he's not going to get hurt a lot, right? So he's going to be real high up on that list automatically. And then you have Karl Malone, who's number 2 on the list. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was number 1. Uh, I would say LeBron, but LeBron's best attribute in basketball isn't scoring, but he's still really high on the list. You got Michael Jordan's really high on the list too. But then you got Carmelo Anthony, who was going to get robbed for being in that sphere of in that range of all-time scorers, and all of a sudden people are just going to start disregarding him, and it's going to be like, and I don't mess with that, and it was like it seemed like the league did this, like people didn't do this. The league was like, we don't want you, and he was like, but I can still get buckets. All of a sudden now he gets the Negro gets the good boy gets an opportunity now. All of a sudden he's still getting buckets.
Well, like I think the thing with it though is like the kind of teams that are gonna try and get him are also trying to win a championship. Like Phoenix isn't coming to get him, right? The Knicks aren't coming to get him. Like the teams that are gonna be looking at him are looking to like get that thing that's gonna put them over the edge. And if he can't, and if they look at him and like they talk to him and like, are you willing to accept a lesser role? And he's like no, or they feel like he's not willing to do that. Of course they're not gonna pay him because it's not gonna help the team.
Yeah, I see that. I say, you see something?
Yeah, and we're not gonna look at Carmelo like he Bernard King now. Like, that ain't gonna happen. Like, we got way we will remember him more fondly, especially because he has the numbers. He's the number 15 scorer of all time, and he's 1,000 points away from cracking the top 10. So if he's here for another season, that's gonna happen.
I mean, how old's Carmelo? 36?
35, I think. He might be 36 now.
The way he's scoring right now and looking right now, he should be like at least 2 more seasons, right?
Yeah, get him on that Rudy Gay plan.